If you're a parent with school-aged children, you may have noticed classrooms looking a little on the empty side. A CBC News investigation has found chronic absence rates are up significantly, and experts worry that could be having a big impact on students. Trisha Kindleman is with us following the story, and so let's talk about this because these numbers are interesting. A lot of concern about absenteeism in the classroom, particularly in and out of the pandemic, and now we're out of the pandemic and we're still seeing this happen. So what are the numbers showing us?
Yeah, that's right. So Marianne, chronic absenteeism, it sounds like a big word. So let's figure out what that means at first. 10% of the school year being missed by more and more students every year, according to what the data is showing. So now we were able to get data from 41 Canadian school districts with more than 30,000 students and their rates of chronic absenteeism for both pre and post-pandemic times. Now, this data is actually not really regularly kept, but we were able to access it from a few boards. Here you see the Toronto Catholic District School Board. You can see the difference in the growth in the numbers there. It's broken down between elementary and secondary students as well. When we also can flip to Nova Scotia, or rather Newfoundland and Labrador there, elementary, kindergarten to grade 6 students, and middle, all of them are increasing there, you can see, right across the board. And it's also not just the East Coast, it goes right over to the West Coast as well. We see the students there also going up, the absence rates. And it's one of those things that now we know school is not just about education. It's also about socialization, getting into good habit forming, and that sort of thing. So the experts are really worried that it could have impacts on a variety of different levels. Here's what one expert in particular says we could see as a snowball effect, as she calls it.
There's a snowball effect to chronic absenteeism. So when children in younger grades are more absent, even as early as kindergarten, grade 1, they're much more likely then to continue to have increased absences as they progress through elementary school and into high school. I think due to the many mitigation strategies that we lived through during the pandemic, such as school closures, extracurricular closures, the social isolation that kids experienced, we seem to have a dramatic increase right now.
And again, it's those concerns around that social isolation, that socialization thing that does come with school, those connections, that community that can really form. Now, this isn't just something that's affecting Canadian students. It's really something that's being seen globally. In the UK, there's research that shows about a 60% increase compared to pre-pandemic data. The US seeing something similar there with about 40% rise there. So it's something that we are definitely seeing around the world, but the factors that are playing into it are still sort of to be determined.
And it's interesting, especially when you look at those elementary school students. So then the question becomes, okay, we know what the impacts could be potentially just for this school year, maybe next school year, but what about long term?
You're right. So also, again, it goes to that education route, though, their learning processes and all that kind of stuff, which can be just so important. Again, forming those good learning habits can be really crucial to that long-term adult success that students can see when they get to post-secondary and even into the work world, which is something that we hear from experts as well. And they're talking about that network, which is so key. Here's more from Dan Coombs.
They have to know that they're supported by the parents. They have to know that the child has to know and realize that down the road, this education, as I said, it's priceless. You're not going to go anywhere without an education in life anymore, whether it be in the, trades or professionally at the universities or whatever. But the parents have to realize and try to get through to them.
So it does come down to some parental influence, and we also want to know that we're hearing our kids when they do raise these concerns, because there are some concerns around support for mental health and that sort of thing when it comes to students. So it's a bit of a balancing act for parents out there, but we'll continue to follow these numbers and see what more we can learn, Marianne.
Yeah, it should be interesting, and also the balancing act for educators trying to navigate the absences in the class while they're trying to move the class ahead as well. Trisha, thanks so much.